Good afternoon. This is 19th of March, Monday. Usually we'll have this recorded in the morning, but actually we tried. But this is a retake because we had so many technical difficulties earlier on. Because this is our first episode of our soft launch, and we're still kind of figuring things out in terms of like technicalities. So we were doing an hour worth of recording earlier, as I thought, but it was actually not recording. It was recording on ambient sound on the GoPro, but that's not good enough. So I hope everybody is doing well, and this is the first unofficial soft launch of our daily podcast. Daily! Oh my goodness, that's quite a commitment. Daily. I don't know about that, but we'll see how it goes. And that's quite a big commitment to be recording or going live daily. But that's many radio broadcasters would do that. I'm not quite trained to be a radio broadcaster. This is supposed to be a podcast, and most podcasters probably will create an episode once a week. But we don't want to go high production value in terms of like quality sound, quality video, but we want to do high quality production in terms of content and information. So we want this to be more an informative podcast, and this is it's just another ordinary Joe show podcast version. So we're going to have which is on production right now, a weekly half an hour. It's just another ordinary Joe show TV version, and we have about 3 episodes already, almost back to back finished. I'm going to the studio tonight to do one tiny segment that network producer Philbert wants me to come in to do a photo shoot as opener for the episodes. And with that, I'm hoping maybe next week or the week after, in 2 weeks, at least we can see the first 3 episodes on there. But it's up to them. For me, I'll just keep on creating, and it's up to them at the network, and I trust them fully that they're doing their best, and they're doing the best they can do in terms of making my show look good, look presentable. And they're the experts, so I leave it in their trustworthy hands. With the podcast version here at the daily podcast, hello Mike, hello. Are we still there? Yes, we're there. It's going to be a little different because this is not going to be highly scripted, although what we want to do is to have it well researched. Oh no, my hard drive's almost full. So we might have to take a break in about 2 minutes and recalibrate our hard drive so that this is getting saved on the hard drive instead of our desktop. Anyways, it's going to be a very good podcast. Season 1 is in production, well, pre-production. So that's why this is a soft launch. And you will see as we go on, when we get to that point that we have an official launch, you will see the format getting in the right place, all the segments getting into the right place. With our soft launch here, we are going to try and imitate what it's going to look like, but not quite exactly, because we're still gathering a lot of, segments with interviews and B-rolls and on-location shoots and so all those good stuff that we cut into during our live show. Not really live as in, but during our podcast session, we will cut into many of these segments that we will be shooting in on location or in studio. And the one man podcast will be done through here, hopefully here at home. And thank you guys for joining me today, and I'm very excited to try and do this first episode. First of all, let's give you some vital information, because the objective of the Ordinary Joe Show podcast version is to look out for the little guys. And how do we do that? We do that by giving some vital information that are useful for our listeners. So let's start with some important information. Number one is the weather. Today it's sunny, -1 degrees. But going through this week, we will have an up and down on the weather. And although we have a worldwide reach here on the Ordinary Joe Show podcast, we actually want to create every show or every podcaster who are going to collaborate with us in this show to focus on the locality where they are situated in. And me being the first host, first collaborator, and I'm based here in Toronto, I'll give you vital, important, relevant information about our city. And as we expand, then we will touch on many different cities, major cities and localities, first in Canada, then hopefully all over the world. So for Toronto, it'll be sunny all day today, a high of -1, but a low of -5. But throughout the week, we are going to have like an up and down situation with the weather, because tomorrow it will be mostly sunny, but it'll be partly cloudy as well. Same thing with a high of +1. Well, actually it's better because we have a high of +1. Today we only have a high of -1 and a low of -5 as well for tomorrow. Wednesday partly cloudy, a high of +4 and a low of -3. Cloudy on Thursday, a high of +5, though it's not going to be sunny, but it's going to be warm on Thursday. Friday we are partly cloudy, but on a high of +6. If you want to do some outdoor activities this weekend, the time to do it is on Saturday, because it will be mostly sunny, but it will only be as high as +3, but will not go below -3 as well. Sunday will be partly cloudy, +3 on the high and -2 on the bottom. Now, like I said, what we want to do is look out for the little guys. So I think one of the vital information that little guys like me, like you and me, need on a daily basis is where can we get cheap gas, right? Because we spend so much money on fuel. That's just the nature of the beast here, living in a big metropolis. For today, this is the map of our gas prices for the locality, downtown Toronto, downtown and midtown. I can see right here, maybe you can see it on your video as well, that the cheapest that we can find today in Toronto is near Lambton, near the Lambton Golf and Country Club here by Runnymede and where is this? St. Clair and Jane. At the racetrack, 2580 St. Clair Avenue West, we can get a liter of gas for $1.17.3 Canadian. And that is the cheapest that I found all over this GTA area. Well, not the whole GTA. I'm just talking about Toronto Midtown, Toronto West, Toronto East, and it can actually go as high as 128 right there. See, $1.28 near Western area. But if we go wide and check out the whole of GTA. How do we do that now? There's a minus. Okay, we go wide. I can see $1.15 out here near Brampton, $1.14 out here Costco in Scarborough, 1411 Warden Avenue. But that's pretty much what you get. Oh, $1.11 in Ajax. There's actually a lot of cheap places. So if you are coming into the city and you're coming in from Ajax and you work downtown, make sure that you load up on your gas before coming in or when you go home at night, because you're always getting cheaper gas out there in Ajax and Whitby. Oshawa is not too bad, $1.12, and further down there, I know that in the summertime, at least once or twice a summer, we get invited to a cottage out in Coburg, and I bring jerry cans with me because out in Coburg they have Indian reservation places where they don't charge taxes on gas, and it's very cheap. So I would load up. That's the principle in economics. They said that you don't buy something because it's cheap, you buy something because it's necessary. Now, fuel is necessary, so whenever you have something that is necessary, buy it when it's cheap. That's a principle of dollar cost averaging. Okay, moving on to the next topic. So we talk about the weather, we talk about gas. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Toronto this weekend. Let's see, Toronto.com. I think a lot of this are already out there in social media, on the mainstream media. They already talked about, Comic-Con and those kind of stuff. And I'm not sure if this is going to be helpful or interesting, but these are some of the things that's happening. Miranda sings at Massey Hall. There's a stage musical reading of Soundheim Company, and that's at the Canadian Safe School Network, March 16 to 17. That's over. I don't know why it's on today's. Anyways, as we move forward at this point in the podcast, every time we deliver some vital information about what's going on, it'll be more focused on topic of what is the rotation topic for the day. And this is a little illustration of what we want to accomplish with our rotation. When we were developing the television episodes, or the television version of the Ordinary Joe Show, I was pitching my usual concept that happened way back when it was just being conceptualized, what I call the F series, because on the hex numbers in graphic design, when you're using graphic design software and you want to get specific colors or combination of colors, you use either hex or this type of codes, RGB or CMYK if it's for print. For screens, we use a code called hex codes, and on hex codes, to get pure white on your screen, you have to put in the code FFFFF, 6 Fs. It will give you, if you punch in those codes, 6 Fs on the hex field, you will get the pure white color for your palette. And I use that FFFF, referring to that as an analogy. I want to create an F series for the Ordinary Joe Show, because here at the Ordinary Joe, we white, in my mind, is a symbol of basic canvas, right? A basic plain a canvas that hasn't been tainted, like purity and clarity. that now, if we allow ourselves to be a plain canvas, then the Lord God will be able to paint a masterpiece into our lives. And that's my analogy of the F series being ordinary. For me, doesn't mean we are mediocre. Ordinary for me is not mediocrity. Ordinary for me, in the Ordinary Joe Show narrative or the Ordinary Joe Show concept, for me, what I think in my mind, the significance of being ordinary is being uncontaminated, or purity, or simplicity. So with that in mind, the analogy of F series, I created an F series of topics that I like to talk about, but mostly it's what I think people want to hear about. There's some stuff here that I'm not not a big fan of, but I can get people who are very good in the topic to help me out. And I'm pretty sure, because one of the things that I'd like to portray, which is true to who I am anyways, I like to portray on the shows that I'm creating, is that Ordinary Joe, which is me representing many ordinary Janes and ordinary Joes out there in our society, that I am, although I am advanced, not really advanced, but up there, middle age in years, that being a student, being a learner is timeless. I believe that we need to be good learners the rest of our life. So me being the Ordinary Joe, I am very curious about so many things. I'm curious to learn what other people know, and I'm always humble to learn and be schooled by people who are expert in their fields, because I think all of us need to be lifetime students, because there's no end on learning. There's no end on learning. There's always something that we don't know about, and other people are better informed than us, or they're more, that is up in their alley, that's their field of expertise, and we can learn from them. There's so much knowledge, there's so much richness of culture and knowledge and history that we have here on the planet that we were born into. So it'll be very good for everybody to stay being curious, being teachable. That's the word I was looking for. So me also being the pioneer, teachable person, when I go and search out the professionals and the expert on these fields, I'm going with you as a fellow student, and I take you with me. Although you are my viewers, I am with you, a fellow viewer of all these adventures that I want you and me will go to together when we talk to all these experts and do on location shoots, and it's a kind of an adventure, kind of a field trip, what I tell to my little 6-year-old girl whenever I take her out to learn something new. So this is the schedule so far. It might change as we go on, but this is the F series of topics that we are going to rotate every day of the week. So we have here 7 days actually, but it's going to be very daunting if I will be podcasting non-stop every day. I won't be able to do that, so I won't make a promise that I'll be doing that every day for you guys. But what I can promise is for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday anyways is my rest day, official rest day. That is, I observe the Sabbath, and that is a religious vow and a personal vow that I made many years, and I don't like to break it. But it doesn't mean I won't have anything for you on Sabbath day. On Sabbath or on Saturday, I will have the F series called Faith and Family, which I will be pre-recording sometime maybe around here on Thursday or Wednesday, which I will just schedule for broadcasting on Saturday. Now, let me just go through quickly. This is what we are going to be anticipating and looking at as we develop this show, this daily show. And when we go to the official launch of this show, What I want to see is a consistency on touching on this F series topics that starts with destinations and flights on Sunday. So this will be our travel vlog, if you can say, or podcast. So column B right here, Sunday. I'd like the vision that I have for this particular podcasting day. We're going to talk about destinations, but when we think about destinations, a lot of people, they think of vacations as, taking a plane outside of the country, and that's also good. Family vacations to Europe, family vacations to down south to the US. But in my mind, the truth is, I don't think every vacation or mini vacation or a what we call a staycation needs to be very expensive. And like I said, we are looking out for the little guys. Every little guy who works hard 9 to 5 deserves some sort of break or some sort of a recreative activity with their families on a mini vacation or a staycation. So on Sundays, when we talk about flights and destinations, we are not going to focus on major cities and expensive travel destinations all over the world. Although we will include that in some of the segments, we will focus more on what is there to see in our own locality, in our province. I'm in Ontario right now, but as we have eventually, as we expand and we have more correspondence from different provinces, and hopefully they can also take us on an adventure. So our first day of adventures for the Ordinary Joe Show will be on Sundays, and we are going to talk about flights and destinations. Sometimes we are hopefully we'll get a sponsor, an affiliate with, who knows, maybe Porter Airlines or Canadian Airlines. Let's keep that in prayer. If that is the case, then we will do some flights to other destinations within Canada, in other provinces. But excuse me, flights for me, and for this, for the purpose of this segment, it doesn't only mean taking an airplane flight, but I would say, going for road trips as well, family road trips. That for me is what I mean by flights as well. Flights and destinations. We'll talk about many tiny towns all over Ontario, vineyards, farms in the summer, and even during the winter. We go to little tiny towns where maybe we can go on a slope for skiing or snowboarding and stuff like that. In the fall, there's a lot of places where we can go together and do some pumpkin farm, harvesting and stuff like that, right? But there's so many destinations in Ontario that there needs to be discovered. And my hope for the Sunday episode will be a time where we learn more about our country, we learn more about our province here in Ontario, and the tiny towns, the little towns, and the culture and the food and the music that they have in those towns. I used to say I used to have a lot of Korean students that joined my cell group for when I used to lead a cell group for the church that I go to. There's a lot of Korean students here, and they always ask me. At one point, I had maybe about 50 students that I looked after and cared for as a cell leader at church. And many of them are international students, very new to Canada. And when they ask me, let's have a Canadian experience, let's plan together a road trip or plan together an outing, I always make sure that I take them to the countryside, little towns. That's where you will feel and experience Canadian culture, in tiny towns. Because whenever you're in big cities like Toronto, there's really not much difference between Toronto and New York and Tokyo and Manila. And even myself, when I first visited Tokyo, I didn't want to stay in the big bustling Tokyo city. I want to go out in the rural area where I can experience even their rituals, even though I don't want to be involved in any way with their religion or any other religion than my faith. I go there to experience their culture. And the best way to experience culture, an authentic sushi or authentic Japanese food, is get out of Tokyo. You know, when you visit Japan, don't stay in Tokyo. Tokyo is like Tokyo is like New York or Manila or Toronto. There's not much difference. It's a little different though in Japan because they all speak Japanese. Not very many English speakers in Japan. In other major cities, you'll always find people speaking English. So that's our flights and destinations. We'll talk about staycations. We'll talk about bread and breakfast. We're running out of space, so we kind of have to hurry up and take a short break. And let's just probably do it right now so we can change our hard drive. Okay, so we'll be back in about 30 seconds. Hang in there, please don't go away.